Hi, I'm Jill, and today I want to walk you through a scrapbooking process of creating an entire page from start to finish, so you can kind of see how I go about the process of deciding what products to use, what papers to use, how everything comes together, and hopefully it can inspire you to create something. I am starting today with pattern number 19 from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 3. I love this product and the way that it gives you such guidance in getting started. So I only have one photo that I'm going to focus on today. I have this cute photo of my 3 kids from Halloween just a couple years back, and I haven't scrapbooked this one yet, so I really wanted to find something that worked for this. And I loved just the left side pattern here. So even though this pattern number 19 gives you a 2-page spread, I just need to make a 1-page to use this one focal photo, and so I am working with this pattern right here. So that's going to be my inspiration for getting started, and how I'm going to decide how to cut my paper and how everything's going to come together is using this left side. All the measurements are here for me, so that's going to be great. I'm just going to put that up here so I can reference the instructions there. And then I want to use our adorable Hats and Bats paper. And one thing I love to do when working with a paper kit is reference back to the fundamentals and see what kind of papers I could mix in. So I looked through the stash of all the different fundamentals and I found the same color that matches this kit. So this is a paper from our fundamentals collection, and I'm hoping to work this in as I start the process because I love the wide stripe and how that varies the patterns just a little bit. So I don't know exactly what papers I'm going to use yet, but we're going to get started figuring that out as we go. The first thing I have done is cut down my PML page, so that 12 by 12 that has all the PMLs. The first thing I like to do when I get a new kit, especially because a kit has 2 full sheets of this, is I cut one down into the PML cards so that I have these just at the ready. I can use them as titles and as embellishments or as layers, and so I like to just have one whole page cut up, and then I can keep the other page solid until I'm ready to use it. So I've already cut these down and I'm ready to access those. Put those off to the side. And then the other thing I did, because I knew this is how I wanted to get started on this page, was I took the striped paper and I gutted out the inside. So here I've cut this out because I don't want to waste even an inch of this paper. It's so adorable and I'll use it so many times. And then I just cut down a white 12 by 12 to 11.5, and then I sewed around the edge of that. That's something I love to do because I start with a white background most often in my scrapbooking, because then I can add in the color, and I like to have that white space, but I love the detail that this stripe brings in, and so that's where I know I'm going to start. So from there, the next thing I need to do in referencing the pattern is figure out what papers I'm going to use behind my photo. So in looking at this, I know that I want to use this wide stripe, and then this kit also has a back side that has green right here. So those two work really well together because they're the same color, but the scale's so much different, and so I love the idea of that being my background. So I think I'm going to start there. And the measurements on these, all I have to do is reference that pattern and get started here. So for the stripe, I need this one to be 2 3/4 by 7 3/4. So that's going to let me have a nice mat on my 5 by 7 photo. So that piece, and then I want to use this other green color to do the other piece, which is 3.5 by 7 3/4. Okay, and so I know that this is going to be the base for my photo. So I've got that nice black and white going on, I've got the greens, and I think the other color I want to mix in is the orange. So this kit, again, has lots of different colors. It's got the blacks and the grays, you've got orange, you've also got the turquoise color and the greens, but I think I'm going to focus mostly on orange and green here. So I'm going to work with this paper, and then I'm going to come back, because there aren't really any more cut pieces that need to go on this page as far as the pattern's concerned. But I want to keep adding layers and adding some more color and pattern. So I've also got this that has those cute little origami animals on that, so I think I want to use that. I've also got this Happy Halloween piece, Trick or Treat, that would work. So I think I'm going to start with some of these as well and see how that goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is tack this down. Now I love to tuck layers and pieces in and behind my bases as I go. So when I first attach these down, I just put a light amount of adhesive so that I'm not adhering it to the very edges. And that's going to allow me to do a little more as I start working on the design. So the pattern has gotten me a really good start. I'm going to tuck this under just a little bit, under that striped piece, because I also want to go through and kind of rough this up. You can do this with your scissors or your fingernail, and that is going to be the base, and those are the pieces that were on the pattern. Now for the orange, I want to start adding in some of that orange. So here's some pieces I decided I'm going to work with, and I've got this paper. Now the photo, I went ahead and printed in both black and white and in color, so I could decide what to do here. A tricky thing with Halloween paper is that most of the time it is based in your traditional Halloween colors, but usually your costumes aren't. And so while I do think that these colors work okay with the green and the orange, I do think I want to go with the black and white version of this photo just so that I get those pops of the colors of the paper, and because their costumes were so many different colors, this will help neutralize that and keep the focus on their cute faces and this whole page and focusing on the Halloween theme here. So I'm going to go black and white in this instance, which is a great way if you love a certain paper and it's just not working for your photo, turn your photo black and white, and then you have that option to make it work with whatever paper you're inspired to use. So there's my photo. I want to get this on so that I can use that as my inspiration as everything else comes together around it. So I'm going to put that on with some foam tape. This is going to give my photo just a little bit of dimension. I'm just going to center that right on here. So then you can still see a little bit of that paper wrinkling up under the edges. I've still got the stripes going on. I've got the little polka dots on the side. And now I'm going to just work on tucking in all these little pieces here. So I know I love the pattern of this origami piece. And I love to just use little bits and pieces. Again, this is more of an embellishment. This isn't a measurement or a piece that comes on that pattern. But I use the pattern as the jumping off point, and then this is my way of getting in just a little more detail, a little more color, but not adding tons of different pieces here. So I'm going to put some orange there. I like this Happy Halloween. It feels a little big to be my title there, so I don't think I'm going to use it that way. I think what I'm going to do is trim off just the edges of it, like this. And if you had cardstock in this color, you could definitely do that. But since I have these PML cards and I'm using up as much of this paper as I can, this is kind of a cheater way to make it look like you've put another layer in. So again, I'm just putting this piece in behind those mats of my photo on both sides, and it makes it look like you've got an entire piece of cardstock or paper running behind your photo, but really you just had to use a little strip on both sides. So again, I'm just adding layers to keep all the focus on this photo here in the center. The other thing I wanted to do is use a little bit of this grid orange, because then again I've got 3 different pieces and patterns of the orange going on, but since they're all in the same color, then they really just pop and come together as just a little more added interest. So I'm going to make that about 5.5 to go right down here underneath. So now I've got orange on all the sides, but I've got different patterns going on within that. So again, because I haven't adhered that down, I can fit that in. Okay, so that's my focal point. I feel really good about all that's going on here, the orange, all the balance, the patterns of gray, and all that accent is still going to the photo there. So I need to figure out my title. I'm going to bring the pattern book back in just so you can see. This is another way I love to get inspiration, is looking at the samples in the book. So here the title was just a sticker and then a little zip strip piece. And here was a full piece of paper or a PML card. And so that gives you some different ideas. You can see multiple ways to accomplish that same thing. So I am looking at these PML cards that I cut out. And I already said I liked using this trick-or-treat one, and this literally was right before we left to go trick-or-treating. So I like the balance of that being my title, and that black really helps ground the paper there. So I think I'm going to use this as my title. Just going to adhere it and commit to it, and then we'll work with it from there. So there's my title, and that finishes out the pattern part. So I feel like I've got all the paper pieces that I need on here, and then I'm going to start with embellishing. So I grabbed the complements for the Cats and Bats kit, and I'm just going to see what I want to use within this fun embellishment pack. I know I want to use some of these glitter pieces because that will bring some sparkle and some shine and fun detail to my project. So I'm just going to put those on the table here. I love the arrow. I love this little dot pattern. The stars are fun. The spider webs are awesome. I think for sure those have got to go on. There's hearts and stars and an owl. Really fun things in this kit, but since I'm keeping this kind of focused on Halloween, I do love that you could use party and some of these other pieces for other projects that aren't Halloween specific, but this one is very Halloween specific. So I'm going for these kinds of things here. I actually love the bats right where I dropped them, so I think I'm going to use those and leave them there. So I also love the spider webs. I think I could put them on the photo, but that kind of gets lost. So I think I might just tuck those in the corners like this. I like that. That balances out the corners just a little bit. Putting it right into where I sewed the corners there. Okay, so I'm going to work with that there. I do really just like the bats exactly as they are. So we're going to go with that. I've got 3 here, which is a great way to always have balance. It's the rule of thirds that you always want to have that so that it creates a visual triangle. So I've got those 3 bats going on there. So I feel like the only other thing is that it needs something down here. You've got black going on in the corners, then you're going to need that opposite same feel this way. So I've got this. That feels a little heavy. I might go with the arrow. I like the arrow. Okay, we are committing to the arrow. Right there, that feels good. Okay, so I've got some good embellishment going on. I also love these badge buttons that come with this kit, and it actually works because I have the orange, the green, and the black going on in this project. So one thing when I'm trying to decide where I want to place these things is leaving them on this backing sheet, or with stickers sometimes I'll put them on wax paper so that I can move them around and decide where I want them. So I kind of liked when I set it down, the whole package, that it just kind of lined up right on the left side, all 3 of them. But I also want to see what it looks like if I put that over there. You know, we would also want to make sure those are triangle. Those feel kind of heavy to have all 3 placed that way. I think I'm coming back to this idea of just lining them up on the photo there. I like that. So I think we're going to go with it. I like that. We're going to stick these down. That pulls in just a little bit more of that color and keeps the weight of all of these pieces all together on this left side. So I think that works. I'm going to look through the stickers really quick and see if there's anything else I want to add to embellish this page. So again, you've got all those colors going on in the stickers. This is a fun little green strip. And I kind of like the idea of like it being a piece of washi tape and putting it just right there to hold down my title. Gives just another little bit of pattern there. I think that's good. Okay, I think we're about there. I'm feeling really good about the balance of the page, the colors going on. The other thing I love to do is to add some re-inker or paint, whatever you have on hand, to add just a little bit of splatter. So it's fun, and it can be tricky from time to time, just in case you go a little crazy or heavy-handed with it. But I've got my mat here. I'm going to add just a little bit of re-inker. Okay, so I just got a little puddle of re-inker there, and I'm just going to grab a paintbrush, any size. I'm going to stick with one of the smaller ones to hope that my splatters don't go too crazy. And then I like to make sure I cover up the parts I don't want to get splatter on. So I have some scraps here I'm just going to place over my photo and the journaling. Then you just get a nice good amount on your paintbrush, and I like to just tap it on my finger. So then I can see exactly where I'm going with it, how much. That's just giving me a nice little splatter there. I'm going to do the same in this corner. There we go, that's perfect. Do a little more up here. That really pulls in some of that fun Halloween feel. And what I also love about splattering, you can do it with any color, paint or re-inkers or anything like that, but it kind of provides some movement. So where this layout was very like a T-shape, just very straight with this little title here, by adding the splatters and your embellishments off the other direction, it really pulls it all together and gives you a little bit of movement to the page. So the last thing to do would be to add journaling. So I'm going to do that off screen, add some journaling right under here, and that page will be finished. All right, I've added my journaling, so the page is complete, the story has been told, and all of these products are Close to My Heart products. So if there's anything you see on this layout that you love, visit closetomyheart.com.